You have 200 doors on a project, and the contractor wants to know which ones are fire rated. Instead of typing the fire rating 200 times, we're going to show you how to populate this information in a fraction of the time and provide you with the infrastructure to make quick revisions in the future. In this 3-part series on Revit Parameters, we're going to help you finally make sense of one of Revit's most powerful and confusing features. In part 1, we'll explore project parameters. These are perfect for adding project-specific data that keeps your schedule and your filters organized. In part 2, we'll dive into shared parameters. These are the secret to creating consistent, taggable data across all your projects and families throughout your office. And in part 3, we'll delve into global parameters, showing you how to control your entire model with just a few rules and numbers. Whether you're trying to keep a kitchen schedule clean, drive geometry with one input, or build a repeatable standard across your office, this series has you covered. Stick with us through all 3 videos, because once you see how these parameters connect, you'll never look at Revit the same way again. Project parameters in Revit are custom data fields added to element categories within a single project. These are used for scheduling, sorting, and filtering your different elements throughout Revit. They appear in the Properties palette or Type Properties, but unlike shared parameters, they can't be reused outside the project file. This data can control the dimensions of an object, display text information, and can even control whether the object is visible or not. Project parameters are great for attaching custom information to categories of elements. All right, let's jump into Revit itself. So to access project parameters, you go to the Manage tab, and then in the Settings dialog box, you'll see Project Parameters. Click on this, and then you'll see a list of project parameters that pop up. These are already kind of in the project, so this is a giant list of all the project parameters that are in here already. At the top here, you'll see that you can search for project parameters. There's an option to filter the parameters by parameter type, discipline, data type, and then also type versus instance. So the difference between type and instance: type parameters are controlled at the family type level. So to access the type parameter in a family, you have to click Edit Type, and then you'll see them. All of these are type parameters. And then instance parameters, it's really something that's established per object. So you'll see here swing angle. If we modify this, you'll see that this door and this door are the same. So they're the same family type, but they can have different instance parameters. So really the difference is something that's more of a family type wide change versus a singular object change. Down at the bottom, you'll see a pencil icon. So that's going to edit the selected parameter. You'll see a new icon, so a new parameter icon. That'll create a new one. You'll see add parameters from service, and you'll see delete parameter. So if we click the new parameter, you'll see that we're given quite a few options here. So right now, let's keep project parameter selected. Shared parameters we'll talk about in a different video. So that's selected, and then below this, you'll see parameter data. So this is where you enter your parameter name, whether it's type versus instance, the discipline, the data type. So this is the action that the parameter is going to take. So whether it's text, a dimension, a number, an image, visibility, and so on. Group parameters under. So this is how you actually group parameters together. So if we go back to our door example, you'll see construction, materials and finishes, dimensions, and so on. That's actually just the grouping of how you want these things sorted. Tooltip, so this is something that you can add here. It has a limit of 250 characters, and it's really just a description of that parameter and what it's meant to do. You'll notice when you go onto certain parameters, it'll automatically change the group. This is not something that's stuck in place. You can change any parameter to any of these groups here. And then you'll also notice under certain data types, you'll see this becomes an option here. So values are aligned per group type, or values can vary by group instance. Project parameters are stored within the Revit file itself. So it's only going to exist within this project, and it's not going to exist as a part of your firm standards. It's really only going to be for this project. On the right-hand side here, you'll see categories. You have the option to search. Again, you have the option to filter the list by the discipline that it's set. And then you can also choose to hide the unchecked categories, which can be useful if you have multiple checks here and you just want to look at the ones that are checked. So getting back to our door example, let's go ahead and start to create the project parameter for the fire rating. If we go to our door schedule page, you'll see that we do have a lot of information here in our door schedule, but one of the things that is lacking is that fire rated information. So another way to create a project parameter, so if we go into our properties dialog box and click on fields, edit, you'll see that that same new parameter button exists here. We can click on it, And since we're already in a door schedule, some of that category information is no longer included here. I always like to start with BD and underscore before naming the parameter. That way it lets my team know that this is a very important parameter that controls something within the project or in the family. Now we have the option to choose discipline, common electrical, energy, HVAC, infrastructure, piping, and structural. We'll keep this one as a common. For the data type, we'll keep this as text. And then for the group, let's go ahead and put it in fire protection. Click OK, OK again, and then you'll see here in this list, we have BD fire rating, and if we click OK, now it'll populate here within our actual schedule. You'll see we have a few options within the schedule that we can modify. Let's go ahead and put it in above here. We also have the option to modify this label, so this won't change the parameter name, it'll just change how it's reading within the schedule. And then we have the option here to now fill out this information. So once we have this information populated, you can see that we have a lot of different parameter values here. So we have not rated, 45 minute, 20 minute, 60 minute, and so on. All this information is now available for the contractor to see within our sheet view. So if we zoom in here, we'll see fire rated label, and then we have all of that parameter information not populated here. Instead, if you wanted to create this project parameter from the Manage tab, the only difference here is that you would go and search for doors. Go ahead and check that. This is nice because let's say if you wanted to include your walls as well, you can do that, and then it's going to apply for both your doors and your walls. So let's start to look at a few different use cases that we can use these parameters for beyond just trying to communicate some information to the contractor and client. Coming back into our schedule properties dialog box, let's go ahead and take a look at filter. Let's say we only wanted to look at doors that have a value within here. So let's go down to our fire rating parameter is greater than and leave this blank, which is a way to show only parameters that have a value within there. So we want to just see the ones with an actual value here. If we come back to schedule properties, we can also start to use the sorting and grouping tab, do the drop down, and then click on fire rating parameter, click OK. Now you'll see that all of the 20 minutes are grouped together, all the 45s are grouped together, 60 minutes, and so on. Within the sorting and grouping tab, you can actually choose to show a header or a footer, and then that way it becomes really clear you have this break line in between. And it's really not just about what you can do in a schedule. If we come back, we can start to do some of these same things within the project space. For those of you that use view filters, we do have another video on this and would highly encourage you to watch it. But we can start to add view filters that reference that information. So you can see that we can now filter and control graphics and visibility using that parameter in our filters. Let's talk about the pros and cons of project parameters. To start with, let's talk about pros. They are quick and easy to set up. As you can see, it only takes less than a minute to set them up, and you can do it all within the same project space. They are perfect for one-off projects and one-off parameters that, the specifics of a singular project is calling for. And they're pretty flexible, so you can add as many as you want. And so a project can host as many project parameters as you would like, and it can be hosted across multiple categories. Looking at some of the cons of project parameters, they are locked to the project, so they're not reusable across projects unless you redo this or have this in your project template. They can't be tagged directly, so if you wanted to tag this in a plan, it's not doable with a project parameter. It can only be scheduled and filtered. And if you get too out of control with your project parameters, they can start to clutter the project if they're overused and poorly managed. Best practices for project parameters is to use them for project-specific data only. So if you find yourself reusing the same information over and over again, it might be time to start using some of your shared parameters. Don't use project parameters if the info needs to be tagged. You'll definitely want to use shared parameters instead. You need to document what each one does in the tooltips. This allows the next person on the team to know exactly what you intended the project parameter to do. And then lastly, keep the naming consistent within the office standards. So you don't want a naming convention that is always jumping from all caps to title case. Then in some instances, you're using the prefixes like BD, and then in other cases, you're not. Just establish something that's really clear and understandable for anyone that jumps on the project, whether they've been on the project for months or if they're just jumping on the project for the first time. At BIM Depot, our families and templates are already structured with clean parameter usage. That means less time setting up things and more time designing. If you've ever struggled with messy parameter standards, our membership gives you plug and play solutions that work across your projects. If you learn something new, please comment, just let us us know and then subscribe for the new videos that are coming up for the rest of this series. Next up, we're going to look at shared parameters. They're the secret to creating consistent, taggable data across project and Revit families.